So this presentation for film and cultural theory is on comedy. My title is An Ideological Analysis of the Inbetweeners, using Freud's suggestions from jokes and their relation to the unconscious. So this is about the Inbetweeners. It's a series from 2008 to 2010, as well as two movies in 2011 and 2014. It's a British coming-of-age comedy. It's based on four mates in their teens, roughly 17 years old, and then obviously from upwards there. So it's Will, Neil, Jay, and Simon. So Will is a nerdy and peculiar character with a quick wit and is outspoken. Neil is seen as the unintelligent character who's in a world of his own. And then there's Jay, who's a verbal bully, constantly lying about his life and actions and makes some rather astounding claims most of the time. And then there's Simon, who's soft and desperate to be seen as likable. So the areas of analysis relating to Freud I'll be talking about are pleasure of principle, which is the idea that laughing with others and in a relatable context creates more humour. And then there's build up and release, which is essentially tension creating humour. And then there's unconscious processing, which is sharing humour instinctively. And then the need for humour, so the impacts that this has and why we laugh and what implications it has on our characters. So the pleasure principle. This, as I said, laughing occurs more when with other people and relating to context. So for the Inbetweeners situation, generally teenage humour is relatable for teenagers, but in one specific scene, it's relating to exams and revising. So Simon asks Will, how's revision going? He says, yeah, not bad, got an excellent schedule sorted, got some drinks here to help propose that sort of thing, and then replies with that rude remark saying it's not working. And then humour comes from that because it's relatable for teenagers who are going through the same sort of thing during revision season. And then there's the build up and release, which is tension creating humour. So Will here has just been arguing with a staff member at a theme park because he's been queuing for hours to get to the front of the roller coaster with all of his other mates, but there's only one seat left. And so he's very angry about it. And then he describes them as in a certain way, in a rather rude way, without realizing they're disabled. And then that creates the tension because he just realized what he said. And then the release comes from him saying, I'm the worst human being in the world. And then we have the unconscious processing. So this is sharing or understanding humor unconsciously. So it's nothing that, it's basically a situation on screen that's unbelievable compared to reality, but because the audience don't heavily analyze it, it's enjoyed. So for example, Jay makes astounding comments and said this. He said, I spent the whole weekend jumping JCBs over cement mixers and I got paid $1,000 at the end of the week. Obviously that didn't happen, and the program didn't need to be sort of paused, and the audience don't need to stop it and analyze whether he actually did jump them or if it's possible to jump JCBs over cement mixers. It's unconscious, and it's an underlying understanding that some things aren't always truthful. And then there's the need for humour, so this deliberate humour, the need to feel superior, and it's to relieve feelings of inferiority. So as Simon Critchley said, humour is a form of insider cultural knowledge, a linguistic defence mechanism. So this could be relatable for Jay again, because he uses humour to feel superior, and this relieves feeling of inferiority. And he feels inferiority when he's around his dad because he is the victim of humour and jokes subjected to him via his dad. So he tries to make himself more superior in his friendship group, so he's not in a position that he's in with his dad. In conclusion, there's a clear Freud link because, as I've just shown, there's many different suggestions, based from Freud. But the main one is that audience use the Inbetweeners references in their own social groups. As I can say for myself, when I was at school, I grew up with watching Inbetweeners, and I can say that lots of references the Inbetweeners use are in our own social groups. And this relates to British humour because it's based on a British school, and events like going to the pub, underage, first love, having sex for the first time, and learning to drive are all coming up in the Inbetweeners. And this is all relatable and reinforces the audience's social groups, and therefore more humour can be more humour is created because of the relatable situation that the Inbetweeners has shown, therefore making it a successful comedy.